What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. So today we're having another battle report for my Molebron DaoLockStone build, which I have been playing on a Westmarch server called the Forged Concordance, which I think is super awesome and highly recommend it. So all of the relevant information will be in the video description below, and feel free to join me there. We can adventure together. So today's adventure was called Got Beef, and it was run by DM Asias, who I thought did a great job. Dude has 15 years of DMing experience, and it really shows. Really in command of the rules, crisp, fast, great descriptions, and a very cool and ambitious storyline. Tonight was actually the very last episode that he was running of it, and then he was going to retire it, but it's like part one of this 12-part series that he has in mind, so I really look forward to playing all of the adventures in it, because I just love that storyline and the continuity of it, and meeting people and all of that, because this is a character's story, Bilbron's story, and it's just so cool to see it play out in unexpected ways, because that's the fun and beauty of Dungeons and Dragons, right? That's why we all love this game. So this adventure started with Bilbron approaching the job board, and on the way he ran into Iddick and Saratha, whom he had adventured with in the previous session. So Iddick is a small goblin Meridlock, and Saratha is an elderly ghostwise halfling stars druid. And so we would normally look for a gig right away, but unusually right next to the job board was this super cute, adorable little baby cow, which immediately attracted our attention, and Saratha especially, got all cuddly with it. And it seems there was an Iron Badge mission on the board with an arrow pointed right at the little cow, and in his mouth we had the outlines of a mission. Seems like the Moo-Moo Ranch is having some trouble with their cows, and they needed some help from the Forged Concordance, and so we all immediately signed on for this, because the cow was just so cute, and plus Bilbron had a really good farm adventure before, right? So he loves being out in the country and on the farm, and interacting with the horses, because he's the horse whisperer, or at least so he thinks, based on that series of epic rolls that he made when breaking horses that one time. So yeah, we were in, and we did need one more person, and Iddick spied another Iron Badge that was a friend of his. They had adventured together before, and so Bilbron met Dontk, a pretty jovial and fun-loving half-orc, also a barbarian, so half-orc barbarian. And that was the team. So we headed out to the farm. This time Bilbron got to bring his riding horse, and it was only about a 4 or 5 hour trip away to the Moo-Moo Ranch, and we met the owners, Paddy Cowley and his wife, Holly Cowley. Yeah, so there was a lot of puns going on in this one. And so the problem, it turns out, is that Paddy was an alchemist and had been experimenting on his cattle to make them, bigger, better, tastier. It was like a Wagyu style ranch where they were like massaging the cattle and giving them sake and letting them live extremely luxurious and cushy lives up until, it was time for them to be eaten for their extremely delicious meat. If you've never had Wagyu beef, I highly recommend it. Beef explosion. Oh yeah, so good. But in any case, he was having problems because he was genetically modifying his cows. Don't know why he didn't think that there might be a weird or sad ending to that. But anyway, he had created about 6 months ago Knickers, who was this massive mutated cow, 17 feet high at the shoulder. Like, just huge, right? And then he also created Sir Moos-a-Lot, who was intelligent, right? Knickers was like the physical enhancement, and then Sir Moos-a-Lot got the intellectual enhancement, and he became a devious malcontent, and he disappeared after vowing revenge on the Cowleys, and now 6 months later they're having all of these problems. One, there's 3 problems that they want us to handle. One, they've lost a whole bunch of these super cute little baby cows that he had engineered, and so he would like them tracked down and returned. 2, at the North Pen, he was having some trouble because the adult cows were really acting weird. They were acting very scared, acting very aggro, had attacked people, were banging their heads into trees and stuff. And so the farmer would like us to investigate that. and, put a stop to it. And then finally, there was the issue of Knickers himself, who had fallen ill, and no traditional remedies were doing anything, so he wanted some specialists to take a look at it. So, fine, here we go. We decided to head out to the North Pen and investigate that, and despite Saratha casting a Speak with Animals, we didn't really discover much. We did talk to a couple of the baby cows, though. There are one baby cow named Moo-Moo, and we discovered that a lot of the cows, or baby cows, had the ability to speak Common, a completely unforeseen mutation, and that the missing cows had left voluntarily at the urging of the dancing cows. And we were like dancing cows? Like, what was their music or something? And this just turned out to be a translation error. After some miming and charades, we determined that the little cow Moo-Moo had meant that these dancing cows were actually taking the dodge action, which itself is unusual, right? But it seemed like they were hiding and dodging, and so we had some kind of rogue cows on our hands. So we decided to follow the tracks of the baby cows, and that was a pretty simple task because we had Dontk and Saratha with us, and so they crushed the series of 3 in survival checks. Literally didn't roll under a 23 on any of them. So a simple matter to find the baby cows. The problem was that they were being guarded by 3 of these rogue cows. And so Dontk cast a Speak with Animals and went forward to talk with these rogue cows. And it wasn't a very productive conversation, as you might expect having a conversation with a cow. And so hostilities erupted. And even though the herd of little cows went aggro and attacked Dontk, he's a kindly barbarian and he didn't attack any of them. And we concentrated all of our attacks on the rogue cows and were able to pretty much kill them quickly. Because Dontk had a really impressive build, great weapon master. And so he was just soaking up tons of damage, pumping out tons of damage. Very impressive to see, because that was my first time of really seeing a barbarian just dominate battles like Dontk did. Then after that, we took the cows back to Patty and Holly. And then went back to the North Pen and tried to investigate that again. And this time we sent our familiars in deep and investigated the whole thing, because at the first time we just talked to the cows at the front and didn't really penetrate and look inside. But we sent our familiars in invisibly, and they were able to find on the back of this little shed thing, in an area that was too narrow for the cows to go except for the little babies, a demonic ritual symbol. And there were some words written on it in Infernal that our imps were able to understand, so we could tell that it was supposed to sow hostility and mistrust and all of that. So a little bit of scratching later, the ritual symbol was destroyed and that issue was resolved. So 2 out of 3 down. Last thing to deal with is this curse or illness with Knickers. So we headed north to this special installation that the farm had built for Knickers. It was about an hour north of the main farm. And on our approach, we noticed that the area was being guarded by a couple of extremely muscular and imposing looking cow things. Kind of like the rogue cows, except more like barbarians than rogues. And so there were 3 of those, and so we decided to attack and go in hot. And then the battle got quite complicated because it turns out there were a bunch of rogue cows there as well that were hidden, and they could shoot these arrows that were nets and restrained you, all Hawkeye or Green Arrow style. And so that was a much more difficult battle than I thought, and Idic's familiar Spot got blown away in that battle. But we did manage to prevail. Again, Dontk was just a superstar, soaking up so much damage and pumping out so much damage. It was pretty cool. And then, after we thought we were successfully wrapped up the battle, we investigated, and up near the barn, there was this glowing symbol of light that looked sort of like a pentagram, but sort of not. You can see the pictures. And Patty looked at it and immediately freaked out and was like, "Oh my God, it's a summoning circle and it's summoning something, and I'm running like crazy because we got to get out of here." And we were like, are we going to play heroes and try and kill whatever comes out of here, or are we going to run? And, being the Forged Concordance, we decided to stick it out and see what was going on there. And after a minute, out comes the Exe-MOO-tioner, who was just this monstrosity 40 feet tall with this giant axe and, superimposing because it was this giant cow. And Fargar was the first to engage, and, he actually did a little bit of damage. But then the Exe-MOO-tioner charged Dontk in the main position of players, totally ignoring Fargar. And the battle was on. He had this crazy fear effect. At one point, he did this crazy, spinning whirlwind with his great axe thing, which did, a ton of damage in an area of effect, which killed Fargar, by the way. So that was a pretty tough battle, but with a strong group effort, we were able to fell the Exe-MOO-tioner. And right after that, his form shrank and mutated down to the form of poor old Knickers. Seems like Knickers had gotten cursed and gotten turned into the Exe-MOO-tioner. Darn you, Sir Moos-a-Lot! And Patty and Holly were both really upset. Holly turned out to be a level 17 Way of the Open Hand monk, by the way. She was just helpless against these cows because she loved them so much. So that was pretty much the mission. And again, it's the first part of a 12-part series, so I assume I'm going to be running into Sir Moos-a-Lot once more, or at least his minions, as I work my way up to the big, bad, evil guy. And it was a great time. Great role-playing, great team, really tough battle that could have easily gone bad, but didn't because we were a strong team that was well-coordinated and everybody was good, and good role-play. And so, thanks to DM Aseus and all of my fellow players, and thanks for watching. This has been Bilbron and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron DaoLockStone. See you next time.